Thank you for your advice today. I do appreciate having you guys as coaches. I think you're smarter than the rest of them. I'm very happy I don't have Keating as a coach.
Captain Insano's dojo of no mercy is the exact opposite of what we typically see in the insurance world, because it's one man and 3 women. Jonathan Lugo at 19 years old. I hope all of those ladies are pinching those chubby cheeks. But I gotta tell you, when you're in the team meetings, you've got such an eclectic variety of experience there. It's insane. Full-blooded coaches have their hands full. Now, I'm not gonna lie, they have one of the most sought-after picks in Ryan Smith. There's a lot of pressure on Ryan coming into this because there are people who are picking him to win it from the very beginning. I don't know how I'd feel about that if I was on his team, other than the fact I know that I would do everything in my power to take him out. Teammate or not, I want to win the competition. Team Illinois boys certainly didn't do anything to help the stereotype of the insurance industry being male, pale, and stale, so I hope they make up for that with their work product. What I'm specifically looking for is how they are going to handle Andy Warner, who has a teammate in real life on a completely different team. That's going to be interesting to see. The other thing I'm interested in is what they're going to do to wrangle in Brian McCall. Last but not least is Team Eminem, and what a cast of characters we have here. This may be the most cobbled together team in Protege history, and I realize we've only had one season, but that's probably going to apply 10 years from now too. We had 2 coaches that we picked that weren't originally in the mix. We had 2 players that we brought back that weren't originally in the mix. And then we had 2 players that didn't get selected in the initial draft, and well, they're going to have to dust themselves off, not feel sorry for the fact they didn't get drafted, and push forward.
Is this your first kickoff meeting?
This is the kickoff, kind of introduction. The challenge is getting released at some point this weekend.
I just know that if you're going to Ryan just to give you the answers, you're gonna wait. It's a waste of everybody's time. That's not what this is about. So, and I know we have
definitely a waste of time.
Hey, David.
Hey,
Happy New Year.
But on that note, if you guys want answers, just come to me, I guess. I'll give you the answers.
Who else on the call?
So I phoned in Sensei Ricky, but now we got the Master Sensei David.
You
Karen,
got me for like 2. You got me for like 2 seconds.
That's why I threw it out there.
You're the last thing between me and Key West this weekend.
Well, on behalf of our dojo, we appreciate you. So Abby's on, Jonathan's on, Karen's on. Mick says he'll be on around 4:30, and we're waiting on Karen Gillen to finish something up. So
cool.
Yeah, I figured we'd go through some expectations.
I figured I would pop on quick. I talked to Derek Hayden this morning. Number one, this will get some B-roll of me on here. But number 2, to let everybody know, stay tuned. The challenge is coming. The first challenge is coming this weekend. And you're going to be pushed, but you're not going to be pushed nearly as hard as they were last season. And what I mean by that is the example that I gave Derek, instead of me, and this is not what I'm going to do, so you can be 100% certain this is not the challenge. But I told Derek, last time we had everybody go through and do like a full business plan on what they were going to do. the way I'm viewing the challenges this season is the whole season would be the business plan, and each challenge would be one subset of that to perfection. So I think that we were biting off way more than we should have with each of the challenges last time. Obviously, I take full responsibility for that, but these are going to be bite-sized pieces. And so what I really want you guys to focus on is quality, because it's not going to be such an immense workload that you can't get the challenge done. So it's got to be as close to perfect as it can be, especially with the number of people that we have.
Sure if Sean will show up or not. I know this is his first day back, he said, from his paternity. Oh, there he is. Look at that. There he is. Is that an Iowa shirt? Sean, are you wearing an Iowa shirt?
Yeah, and a boy.
Oh, that's
Grew up
disgusting.
in Cedar Rapids, man.
Okay. I gotcha. Well, I've been wanting to try to get something scheduled, guys, and I'll keep it kind of quick, but more of what I want to do is if you just ask Steven and I questions. I know you guys are probably getting a little anxious about what's going on, how this is going to look. And to be honest with you, Steven and I probably know as much as you do.
Yep.
But hopefully we can share some ideas and give you some recommendations on whatever you have, and at least get you prepared for the first challenge, which I honestly don't even know when the first challenge is going to be released. So
I have a question, Derek.
Yep.
Hey, so what is something, as somebody who won this, what is something that you wish you would have done in the first few challenges that you didn't do?
The first few challenges for me, I was doing it more for show purposes. I wasn't, especially the very first challenge. I did that. I like, you had to create 3 niches. I just kind of did that for like a show, to be showy. I wish I'd have done research on to actually like grow my book of business. And if you watch it, I changed it to what I want to actually build my book of business around in the second or third episode. So this isn't just to be on a reality show. The reason Carruthers made this was so you can take the resources and build your book of business and become, as large as you want to be. So make it your business plan. This is actually your business plan. It's not just to look good on YouTube. This is your business plan. So build it around what you want it to be, and just use the tools and challenges as a resource to build around.
What is up, Protege Nation? I could not think of a better place in the world for me to give you your first challenge than from the patio area of my room here at the Saint Hotel in Key West, Florida. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of 3 classes of business that you're going to use for your protege journey. This should be relatively easy, but I need you to come up with 3 classes that are going to be your ideal prospects for the rest of your career, if it works out, and tell us what they are, why you chose them, and just show some of the thought pattern that you put in. Justify the reason why it makes sense for you. And that's all we need you to do.
It'll just be us 3. Pretty much just kind of a checkup call, see if you guys got any questions on the challenge or where you at or where you are at on it. How do you all feel?
We do a round robin here.
Sure.
good. I'm done.
You're done? You did it? Awesome.
Yep, it's submitted. Although I have to say that I did not realize how much I used the word "so" as a filler.
when you rewatched a video,
man.
they did, or,
yes. So I am going to be watching for that. That is huge. I had no idea. So, yeah.
That's funny. I know a lot of people use "like" and don't realize it. And the self-awareness is good. So as you start catching it, it'll subconsciously start to come out of your vocabulary.
That is a good thing.
Cool. Jonathan, how are you doing?
So yeah, it's been fun. We have this handy new device here, and so I'm trying to make some. So
That's
yeah,
exciting.
trying to pump out those LinkedIn videos. But for me, I haven't done mine yet all the way, but I've done all the thinking behind it. For me, I just want to think through the format I do it, whether I do just a video or whether I do a video with a screen share. But I have a Word document and have my thoughts together. So.
My question is going to be this, Derek, and you know more than I would on this, but I think this is fabulous, by the way, but is it too broad? I mean, does David want really kind of narrowed down to a certain topic a little bit? I just want to make sure he's not missing the mark. And like I said, you know more than I would.
Sure. I think as you include this part, the specifics of the size that you're, so that not 60% tract housing, 20 plus vehicles, 25 employees. I think as long as you are making sure you're, not doing one man, flooring contractors or something like that. If you focus in on the size of this, say if you know that your value is most needed or appreciated by that group, I think you stick with that. But I definitely want to make sure in your video and in your business plan that you're focusing in on this part in particular.
But is there anything that else out there that you've heard recently or you've gone after in the past that seems attractive that maybe I could consider?
I think I think it depends on where you want to be on an average revenue account, per se. And then maybe over the next week or this weekend, just drive around, as you're driving around, look at these businesses and think, hey, do a lot of them have a big auto exposures? Is this something that's a rare off that might be a little hard to place, but I can have access to a broker that's got carriers for that? Do some research, because some of my business isn't just all with my core carriers I have. Some of it's with E&S, some of it's with brokers and all that can end up being profitable. But if they're right, because they don't have people knocking on the doors as much as, restaurants. Restaurants usually do have a lot of people knocking on doors. Again, I'm not saying don't go after that, but, something kind of out in left field. And then if you find that over the next week, do some research of where I could get access to some markets for that is what my suggestion would be. Something outside the box.
It's time for Challenge 1 of Season 2 of the Protege.
So let's talk niches. I've got some exciting ones for you, or I'm excited about my niches.
If you don't know what your niches are or what you're going after in this industry, you're kind of already a step behind.
The insurance world is new for me. Talking to people is not. Getting to know people is not. Creating relationships is not. So I'm super excited to get started.
Because when you help these guys from the startup, you continue to be with them along their growth.
Trying to identify what it is that I can do to add value to the customers that I'm going to be looking for and prospecting for.
But it helped me to learn about many industries and go really deep into each. I found a lot of information. It was hard just decide for the three.
So went back on the books, looked at what we had, and even though it wasn't the most exciting thing to me at first, it grew on me.
And so the only thing that's going to distinguish Andy and me in this competition for this first industry is going to be the amount of time that we put into it, the amount of effort, and the ability to sell.
And I feel like after doing a SWOT analysis on all the three that I'm going to be focusing in on, the strengths are the greatest with the workman's comp.
And the goal and the vision is really to be a business/insurance resource for California contractors.
I like to concentrate in three industries that I truly feel that they can benefit from my experience in the construction industry.
I grew up in a small family construction business, so it makes sense for me to chase those because I'm very familiar with the risk and kind of what goes on around the job sites.
Janitors and cleaners are in the top 10 occupations with the highest injury rates, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I spent my first year building that book of business, pursuing churches and nonprofits.
So this is Sean Kirby. I wanted to take a quick second to go ahead and run through kind of the 3 target markets, the 3 prospects that we've chosen to prospect during the first challenge of the Protege, as well as the first in the entire season. So we wanted to kind of start with, we're from the Midwest, Indiana. This used to be a manufacturing town, a lot of good, really good blue collar jobs back in the day. Unfortunately, those jobs are no longer here, but there's still a lot of good blue collar people left over. So our target niches, or things that we kind of were able to back into that we think that we're going to be super competitive on, and as well as prospect really well, is residential subcontractors, whether that's plumbing, HVAC, electrical, masonry. Try to avoid some of the tract housing work, but still be able to work a lot with those larger subcontractors. People that work, inside homes. So we're looking for people with 20 plus vehicles, 25 plus employees, and at least $5 million in gross revenue. From there, it will make our prospecting really close to where we want to be from a revenue standpoint as we're working with these new clients. We also want to work with metal manufacturers or metal fabrication companies. It's a very blue collar business, lots of guys, lots of welding, lots of, OSHA violations. So lots of things that we can go in and provide value. I got 3 and 4 on here. We've got sand and gravel haulers. These are the guys driving dump trucks every single day. You see them all throughout town, all throughout, the state of Indiana, as well as these larger tree trimming services. Lots of people don't want to work with businesses like these because there's lots of certs, there's lots of turnover, there are lots of messes, claims are ugly. And you see it getting to be kind of a hard market with carriers. So
what is up, Mr. Kirby? Listen, man, this is your feedback for challenge number 1 of the Protege season 2. And I got to tell you, dude, I am really proud of the work product that you put together. You did a great job. What I was looking for was a SWOT analysis. I was looking for the revenue opportunity for each of the verticals in your area in terms of maybe like a 25 to 50 mile radius, so that you could just show that, yeah, there's a couple $100,000 in revenue potential or whatever that is, so that you knew it would make sense for you to go after that. And then that's important to me because I want to make sure it was well thought out. I had some people that gave me classes they wanted to go after because nobody else was going after it. And the reason is because they suck. Like, there's not enough opportunity there. So, you might be able to write 100% of something and still not be able to pay the bills because there's just not enough meat on the bone. So it was obvious to me that you put a lot of thought and effort into this, and I can't really add much to what you did other than to tell you thank you for making my job easier.
There were a whole few hours that I spent going through Reference USA, pulling information from public sources to find out exactly how many of what client types that I'm looking at, how many of those are available in Oklahoma. My ideal 3 clients for the rest of my career are going to be all around the residential construction space. Constantly you're seeing growth around Oklahoma City, and so there's a ton of contractors and a ton of builders, and there's a lot of work being done in Oklahoma City in that industry. There are a ton of these contractors, and you can see that I've done some research and put together a few lists in that industry type that shows exactly how many are. There ended up being over 2,600 contractors and builders within the residential construction arena in Oklahoma. So that's one major group within my 3. The second is tied to it, but it is quite a bit different. It's the manufacturing, production, distribution, and even retail operations for the materials that those contractors are using in new and remodeling construction. The real estate investment world is huge, and it's something that's really interesting to me. It's something that we see quite a bit of in our agency already, but it's not something we've been actively marketing. Individuals and businesses that are solely focused on purchasing residential properties, flipping them or just improving them and then leasing them out. All property insurance is just up and up and up and up in my experience. That's something that I want to be able to help people with. The rates are going up. What can they do about it? Well, I want to learn how to approach those entities, those organizations, or just the individual and say, have you thought about this? Have you addressed this issue that could help with the cost of the risk?
Really good job. Here's what I was looking for. I was looking for a SWOT analysis. I was looking for a defined ideal prospect in terms of the demographic, meaning, size, shape, number of employees, number of vehicles, sales, experience mod, whatever. I was looking for the amount of that revenue or the revenue opportunity within a reasonable radius of your office. And then you have to have that, right? Because if you haven't defined those things, how in the world do you set your sales goal, number one, and then determine the behaviors you have to have every single month, week, and day to hit those numbers? So you definitely thought through this exactly like I would have wanted you to. I've given the feedback on this challenge to everybody just as if they were a producer in my agency. So if you were in my agency, you'd be top dog right now. You were number one by a landslide. You went to a level that I expected a lot more people to go to, but they didn't get that they needed to get there, and you did. So congratulations, sir. Well done on your first challenge. I really don't have much I can add right now. Well, in Protege world, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And this challenge, while it may have appeared easy on the surface, was actually a lot more involved. And unfortunately, about 75% of the contestants didn't figure that out. The 25% that did a really, really good job. There wasn't really any medium in between area here. You either did a great job or you missed a bunch. And so I think that people need to understand that because I feel like we're going to get some pushback of, well, your instructions were vague, or, you really didn't tell us you wanted this, that, or the other. Here's a newsflash, people. Your prospects on the street aren't going to tell you what they want from you. It's your job to figure it out. It's your job to determine what your work product needs to look like in order to make those prospects into clients. And part of that is through asking questions. Part of that is through leveraging resources. Part of that's actually leaning on your peers. And in this case, that could have been the coaches. Now, I know for a fact that some of these contestants didn't counsel their coaches about their challenge, and those contestants struggled with it. And what's scary is their coaches were some of the people who did the very best job on this exact same challenge in Protege Season 1. I don't know if I'm more irritated at the fact they didn't use their coaches and get their advice, or that they just didn't simply go to YouTube and watch the episode from the first season, because the answers were in plain daylight. This really wasn't a riddle of the Sphinx that people had to solve. They simply could have gone and watched last year's and they'd have gotten to where they needed to be. That being said, let's talk about what I was looking for and why I was looking for it. Number one, I wanted a SWOT analysis. I wanted people to tell me not just what they were going to do, but why they were going to do it, and show me the thought process that led them to make that decision. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats involved with your decision for each one of the target markets? The second thing I wanted them to do is I wanted them to clearly define who the ideal prospect was going to be inside of those target markets. Here's the thing. This is straight out of the Killing Commercial playbook, and every single team, with the exception of the team M&M, has a coach or two coaches that are in Killing Commercial. So they could have handed that to the information to them and told them, this is exactly what he's going to expect from you. So the SWOT analysis is one piece of it. The second piece is I want them to identify who their ideal prospect is in clear definition. So if you're going to talk to me about a residential service contractor, don't tell me that you want to focus on residential service contractors. That's my wheelhouse. I know that segment of our industry like the back of my hand. I have produced a ton of business in that vertical over the course of my career. And so what I want to hear when somebody says residential service contractors is, I'm interested in residential service contractors that have sales of $5 million a year or more, They have 25 or more vehicles in their fleet. They have 40 or more employees, and they have an experience mod of 1.0 or higher. Now, I don't need to hear that exact verbiage, but as you can understand, that's a clearly defined ideal prospect, and that's what I expect, because in order for you to be able to go out and create the appropriate leads lists to keep you from wasting your time on the street, you need to know who your ideal prospect is. And you find that out by going through and doing the research and clearly defining what it is you think is going to be the most bang for your buck. The second part of that is, once you have identified that, you can put those parameters in and go out and create your raw leads list. And when you do that, it's going to tell you where the real opportunity is. Do I have enough of this within 25 miles of my office? Do I have to go out to 50 miles? Do I have to go 100 miles out? And at some point, if you're having to go to a radius of over 100 miles from your office just to get enough critical mass to make this thing work mathematically, it probably isn't a good idea to go into that vertical. So you need to understand that the opportunity's there. Once you do, and you can see how many of these are there, you can assign an arbitrary revenue number to them. You know, let's just say that we're talking about the one that's $5 million in sales. That's probably a $15,000 to $20,000 revenue account here in Florida. Well, if I know that I want to make $200,000 this year in new business commissions, I know I need to write 10 of those. Okay, now I can begin to reverse engineer what my behaviors need to be over the course of the year. One of the biggest issues that I take with my peer group of agency principals is we are too reactionary in how we measure our producers' success. We wait until they don't hit a number. We wait until we get to the end of a quarter. We wait until we get to the end of the year, and then they haven't made their numbers, and then we begin to apply pressure and ask why, when in reality, if we know the number on the front end and we know that we have 12 months in the year, we should be able to reverse engineer our behaviors on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis to where we can be held accountable for those production activities by our agency principal. And here's a hint, agency principals, you're going to have peace of mind, because if you know that the behaviors lead to revenue and you know that it's a proven process that works, monitor the behavior. Here's a fun fact. In the middle market, the sales cycle is not 24 hours. It could be anywhere from 12 to 18 months on average. Sometimes you'll get a quick hit. Sometimes it'll take you 2 or 3 years. But you got to have a steady group of defined prospects in your pipeline. You have to know how far they are from your office or your area of operation. And you need to know how many phone calls, how many emails, how many marketing drops, all of that you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Because if you follow those behaviors to a T, the revenue is always going to come. 100% of the time, you will hit your revenue number. I've gone 2 months without selling a single policy and then written $3.5 or $4 million of premium in the next 2 months. You just never know how it's going to hit because the accounts are so much bigger. And I think that one of the challenges that a lot of the contestants are going to have is understanding the difference in velocity as you move further and further up the food chain. You don't have nearly as many accounts that you're working, so you need to give your undivided attention to those that you are. I think overall we did a pretty good job of identifying where we're going to go. It's a good starting point on the roadmap. I would like to see some progression in some of the thought process. But the one thing that I want everybody to remember that's watching this and those that are participating in this is this. These people are putting themselves out there. They're willing to take a chance. They're willing to bet on themselves. And because of that, they have the utmost respect from me. I don't give them feedback to beat them down. I give them feedback to make them better. I give them feedback because there was never anybody there for me when I was starting out in the middle market to give me that kind of feedback. I had to figure it out on my own. So kudos to everybody who's participating. And I trust that the feedback that has been given was received with the intent that it was sent. And that is to simply make you better and let you know how much I appreciate you. For crying out loud, folks, I'm in the office on a Saturday recording feedback videos, so I can assure you there aren't very many people out there that would do that. I hope everybody had a great time watching this episode. Next week on The Protege.
We're like, how do you not know that?
I didn't want to screw that up.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Pay me to sell, and I need to be selling.
Where are these companies spending time?